The camera slowly zooms in on the dark, foreboding entrance of an old, abandoned mine. Have you ever walked past an old, forgotten place and felt a shiver run down your spine? Places that hold stories, secrets, and echoes of the past? Well, for the residents of a small, quiet town nestled in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, one such place was about to reveal a secret they never expected. This is the story of the old Blackwood Mine, a place everyone avoided, and the day it started to scream. For decades, the Blackwood Mine had been nothing more than a dark scar on the landscape. Its entrance was boarded up, its history fading into local legend. The old-timers told tales of its closure, of the dangers that lurked within its dark tunnels. Kids would dare each other to get close, but no one ever truly did. The mine was a place of silence, a tomb of forgotten memories. Until one crisp autumn afternoon, it started with a faint noise, something so subtle that at first people dismissed it. Was it the wind whistling through the pines? The cry of a distant hawk? But as the day wore on, the sound grew more distinct, more desperate. It was a cry, a series of high-pitched yelps echoing from the direction of the abandoned mine. A group of teenagers hiking on a nearby trail were the first to stop and listen intently. It wasn't the wind. It sounded like something was trapped, something in distress. Word spread through the small town like wildfire. Did you hear it? People would ask each other at the local diner, at the post office. Sounds like it's coming from the old mine. Concern began to bubble up, replacing the usual indifference towards the landmark. The screams were intermittent but persistent, a haunting call for help that tugged at the heartstrings of the community. What could possibly be in there? An injured animal? Or, as some whispered with a nervous glance, something else. By the next morning, a small crowd had gathered a safe distance from the mine entrance. The local sheriff, a calm and steady man named Dave, was on the scene, scratching his head. The cries were clearer now, echoing from deep within the earth. They were cries of pure desperation. Sheriff Dave knew he couldn't just ignore it. The community was watching, and more importantly, something was clearly suffering. The problem was, the mine was a death trap. It hadn't been inspected in over 50 years. The supports would be rotten, the tunnels prone to collapse. Sending someone in was a risk he wasn't willing to take lightly. But the townspeople were determined. One of them was an old man named Jed, a retired miner who had actually worked in Blackwood in his youth. He approached the sheriff, his face etched with worry. "Dave," he said, his voice raspy with age, "those tunnels are a maze. If something's lost in there, it'll never find its way out. We've got to do something." He explained that there might be a secondary ventilation shaft, a safer, more stable point of entry, but its location was long forgotten, hidden by decades of overgrowth. Inspired by Jed's knowledge, a small search party was formed. They weren't looking to enter the main tunnel, but to find that lost shaft. Armed with old maps and Jed's fading memories, they fanned out across the hillside. For hours, they scoured the dense woods, their hopes dwindling with the setting sun. The cries from the mine continued, growing weaker, more heart-wrenching. It felt like they were running out of time. Just as they were about to give up for the day, a young woman named Sarah, who had been meticulously studying one of the old hand-drawn maps, let out a shout. She had found it. Hidden beneath a thicket of overgrown ivy and a pile of rotted logs was a small, rusted iron grate. It was the ventilation shaft. When they put their ears to the grate, the cries were unmistakable and much, much closer. Hope surged through the group. The grate was rusted shut, but with a bit of elbow grease and a crowbar, they managed to pry it open. The shaft was narrow, dropping straight down into darkness. It was too small for a person to fit through, but it was their only chance. A volunteer from the local animal rescue, a brave young man named Mike, had a plan. He attached a powerful flashlight and a small camera to a long rope. Carefully, he began to lower it down into the shaft, the entire group holding their breath, their eyes glued to the small monitor he held. The camera descended into the pitch-black darkness. 10 feet, 20 feet. The shaft opened into a larger tunnel. Mike slowly panned the camera around. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing damp rock walls, rotting timbers, and then two small, shining eyes reflecting the light. The camera focused, and a collective gasp went through the crowd. There, huddled in a corner, shivering and covered in mud, was a small, terrified puppy. It wasn't just one puppy. As the light moved, they saw another, and then another. It was a whole litter, whimpering and huddled together for warmth. But where was the mother? The camera panned further, and the scene became clear. A beautiful golden retriever mix was lying nearby, one of her hind legs trapped beneath a heavy, fallen wooden beam. She was weak, but every time her puppies whimpered, she would lift her head and let out a soft whine of encouragement. It was her cries, her desperate calls for help for her babies, that the town had been hearing. She had likely sought shelter in the mine to give birth, only to have a section of the old tunnel collapse, trapping her. The rescue mission immediately kicked into high gear. They knew they couldn't reach them through the vent. They had to go in through the main entrance. With the new knowledge of the mother dog's exact location, the risk felt more calculated. The local fire department arrived, bringing specialized equipment for structural collapse. Jed, the old miner, guided them, pointing out the most stable routes on his old maps. It was a race against time. The rescue team, moving with extreme caution, finally reached the trapped family. The mother dog, exhausted and scared, still managed a weak tail wag as they approached. Working carefully, the firefighters used airbags to slowly lift the heavy beam off her leg. The moment she was free, she didn't run. She crawled over to her puppies, nudging each one, licking them clean, her relief palpable. One by one, the rescuers gently placed the puppies into a warm crate. Then, they carefully fitted the mother dog into a special harness. The moment the first rescuer emerged from the mine entrance, holding the crate of puppies, the waiting crowd erupted in cheers. And when the brave mother dog was carried out into the daylight, a wave of emotion washed over everyone. She was safe. Her babies were safe. The entire town had come together, turning a place of fear into a scene of hope and reunion. The dog, who they lovingly named Hope, and her 6 puppies were rushed to the local vet. Hope had a broken leg and was severely dehydrated, but she was a fighter. Over the next few weeks, the entire town followed her recovery. People donated food, blankets, and money for her vet bills. The story of the brave mother who screamed for help from a dark mine, not for herself, but for her babies, had captured everyone's hearts. Soon enough, Hope was back on her feet, and her puppies were a bundle of playful, chaotic energy. They became local celebrities. When the time came, every single one of them was adopted into a loving home within the community. And as for Hope, she was adopted by Sarah, the young woman who found the ventilation shaft, a fitting end to their shared story. The old Blackwood mine is quiet once again. But now, when the townspeople look at it, they don't feel fear. They feel pride. They remember the day they heard a cry for help and chose to answer it. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most beautiful stories of courage and love can be found in the darkest of places. Thank you so much for watching. Stories like this remind us of the incredible bonds between animals and the power of a community coming together. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content that will warm your heart. We'll see you in the next video.